Hey guys, North Cinematics here, and today I'm going to be talking about level caps theory, about why Battlefield 5 is bare boned and has hardly any content in the base game. If you haven't seen level caps video, a summary of what he talked about is that basically Bad Company 3 was pushed back and Battlefield 5 was pushed forward. Now Battlefield 5 I believe started development just after Battlefield 1, about 3 months after, in 2017. And then we have the release in November 2018. That just isn't enough time for any developer, and especially even when you've got such a great team like DICE, that you can't expect them to make a great World War II game in such a small amount of time. He also went on to state that Sony wanted Bad Company 3 as their launch title, so they said, you know, EA, you make Bad Company 3 for the next generation of consoles, because obviously they're going to have new and impressive visuals, so they really want to push Bad Company 3, plus it's one of the most popular series in the Battlefield franchise, so they want that to be their launch title. And instead of that, they've pushed Battlefield 5, which needed way more time, and you can see it yourself. It's got hardly any content, and it just doesn't feel like it's a complete or a completed game. If you just look at it, you've got Battlefield 5 launched with 8 maps, which is less than any other Battlefield game. Most of them release with 10 maps. Now, over the course of that, we had Panzerstorm, which brings us up to 9 maps. Still not hitting that 10 maps threshold. We're only going to hit that 10 map in June when we get Operation Mercury. For me, that just sums it up really. It shows that it's not a completed game. It needs at least 18 months. I think that's what Level Cap said in his video, and I totally agree. It needs way more time. Don't get me wrong, it is a fun game to play, but there's just hardly any content to play in this game. There's nothing that grabs me to go, you know what, I want to come and play this game, because there just isn't. Also, one thing that I hear a lot is, why was the leaker for Battlefield 1 so correct, and for Battlefield 5 he just almost got everything wrong other than the setting? Well, what I'd say to that is just look at the promised features that we were told. You just look at crash animations, you look at dragging animations. These were all features that were shown off in the reveal trailer but never came to the game. The leaker said that we'd get premium. Now, if we take Level Cap's theory and we say that this game was pushed forward and that it was rushed, maybe one time in the development cycle we did have premium, but it's much easier to have a live service when you can stagger that content out and you've got more time to develop, compared to a premium system where you are legally binded to create that content. You have, 5 different DLCs, you have to have 4 maps, different weapons, different modes, different vehicles, different camos. Because the consumer has paid for that, you have to deliver on that. Whereas with a live service, you can sort of do what you want. And so if you're stretched for time and you need to get this game out because, the executives at EA have said, we want Bad Company 3 as the launch title for Sony's new console, the PS5, you would rather go with the live service because it's much easier. So maybe because of all this chopping and changing, it was very difficult for the leaker to pinpoint what sort of features we were going to be getting. And I have spoken to the source, and he does seem like a genuine guy. He doesn't seem like he was misleading, say, Drakeston, who was leaking the game. I just think it did change so much through the course of its development that it was just so difficult to actually leak this game. But the most damning thing about this is, if it is correct that they push forward Battlefield 5 to just get Bad Company 3 on the next generation of consoles, that's an absolute disgrace, because they've completely ruined what could have been a really good World War II game with lots of content, lots of interesting theatres. But it's just like the only thing I can think of for why this is such a mess up by DICE, because this isn't a Battlefield game. When you play things like Battlefield 1, when you play things like Battlefield 4, 3, Bad Company series, they're all proper Battlefield games. This just isn't. It hasn't got the same feeling, and it just does feel rushed. We had that release of the grind game mode yesterday at the time of recording, and it's okay. It's a fun, I guess, interesting game mode that sort of pays homage to things like Operation Metro and Operation Locker. But DICE, they say that's new content. They pass that as part of the live service. To me, that's not good enough. How's that tying us over until we get our next map? which is in like June. That just isn't good enough for a live service. This isn't a proper live service, and it does seem like they're just drawing this live service up whilst we're going through the development of the game. It just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't seem planned out. And I know I keep saying it, but the lack of content in this game is the thing that makes it the worst. No one is interested in coming back to this game because there's nothing. It doesn't offer anything. This game isn't offering the consumer anything worthwhile to come back and play the game. You look at Rainbow Six Siege, that's how to do a proper live service. You want to come and play that game. You want to come and see the new maps. You want to see the new camos. You want to see the new weapons. You just look at the camos that we have in Battlefield 5 right now. The camos are awful. All they are is just a few leaves on a weapon with a pouch next to it. And they're charging you like £7 worth of boins. It's ridiculous. The cosmetics that have been leaked are far better. You have things like the Italian faction and stuff like that. This, I know they probably want to stagger it out because they haven't got enough content to give us. But we need something worthwhile to just spend our money on and come back and play the game. There needs to be some sort of reward and some reason to actually come back and play the game, because at the moment there just isn't. But you know what? There's nothing that's going to change, and it's going to be exactly the same. This game was damned from the start. And I have been defending this game, and that's because I enjoy the game and I'm passionate about this franchise and I want it to do well. But at the moment, things aren't looking that great for Battlefield 5, and a lot of my friends concur with the same idea that this game just is boring. It's just not that interesting. And, you know, we're in 2019 when people want a lot of content in their games. So if this game was rushed out the door and EA were like, you know what, we've got to push this game out because, you know, Sony have offered us a ton of money, so we're going to make sure to get Bad Company free on the next generation of consoles because people love the Bad Company series, so we can milk that. Let's push Battlefield 5 out the door. And let's, you know, people will forget about it anyway and it'll be fine. And we've got a live service so we can improve over time. So hopefully at the end, people will like the game. For me, that just isn't good enough. I know this theory is just a theory, but it's not even that. It's just looking at what we have now in the game. And it's, for me, I'm getting kind of tired of making content for this game because there's nothing for me to come back and play. But I do really enjoy this game and I am passionate about it and I do care about the Battlefield franchise. But for me, Battlefield 5 just, my interest for it is just, it's gone from quite high and it just keeps going down and down and down and down. And I am slowly but surely losing interest in this game. So there does need to be something very soon. But maybe the future is much better for Battlefield 5, and maybe in December 2019 I'll be giving it so much praise, saying, you know, this is the best Battlefield game, it's got tons of content. But then I have to come back to the idea, well, if this was rushed, then why didn't you give it more time? But one question for you guys, would you rather have premium or the live service? And are you happy with the state of the content for Battlefield 5? Until next time, have a good one.